When I'm watching Jordan dive, I typically like to sit probably mid-level. No matter where I'm at, he'll find me in the stands to make sure I'm there and I'm seeing him. When I look at Jordan and I stare into his eyes today and look what might have been, if any event in my life didn't happen and we weren't together, you know, what would Jordan be doing today? Would he be alive today?
Jordan Windle's path to Texas started half a world away when he was an infant in a Cambodian orphanage.
My parents were sick and they ended up dropping me off at the orphanage gates, and I was just in a little basket. You know, I was really malnourished at the time. I was really sick. I had tons of cuts and bruises. We had a ton of nannies there taking care of all the children. Sleeping arrangements, we slept in like these baskets hanging from the ceiling.
Nearly 10,000 miles away in Florida, Lieutenant Jerry Windle had retired from the Navy and was transitioning into a career in healthcare. In 2000, he made a routine visit to the doctor.
I picked up a magazine and started reading it, and there was a story about the adoption of a young boy from Cambodia. And it talked about this young man and his father, and that was it. And within 5 months, I received a phone call saying that there's a little boy that we've identified, and we think he would be a perfect little boy to be your son. And they sent me a picture. They named him Pisai in the orphanage, and it translates to little darling. The moment I saw him, my eyes welled up, and I thought, you know, this is my son, this is my child.
He's always wanted to have a family, and he's a single gay man, so it's been kind of difficult for him to grow a family by himself.
I remember when we arrived at the orphanage gates and they let us in, the nannies brought him out and they had him dressed in a little baseball outfit and these little tiny baby green tennis shoes that were 3 sizes too big for him, and they were probably infant size. And I remember, you know, my heart just, you know, came up, you know, through my chest and into my throat.
When I first saw him, first thing I started doing to him was I started like grabbing his cheeks. I would squish his cheeks and stuff. It was just kind of like a comfort thing.
I remember just, you know, trying to catch my breath because it's that moment of instantaneous love, and it's not, you know, it's not like you're, you know, trying to connect with somebody. I mean, it was instantaneous with both of us.
Jerry adopted the 18-month-old and named him Jordan. When Jordan was 7, he discovered diving.
He and I were riding on a tandem bicycle down along the beach in Fort Lauderdale, and there was one of those banners across the street, and it said, Fort Lauderdale Aquatics Fun Camp.
We went in, and I saw some kids diving and jumping off the towers and flipping and having tons of fun. So my dad asked, and I actually was able to get into that camp.
Within days of the camp, I dropped him off, and a gentleman came out and said, excuse me, is this your son? And I said, yes. And he goes, can you come and talk to me for a minute? The diving coach in Fort Lauderdale came up to me and he said, you need to get this kid into diving. And he showed me some physiologic things about Jordan, lifted him up and his toes went into a perfect toe point instead of flexing up. He had him lift his arms up over his head and his arms went up and behind his ears. And he said, that is perfect for a diver. And he said, you get this kid into diving, he'll be a national champion. And then literally everything after that just fell in place like dominoes.
At 9 years old, Jordan won his first junior national championship. At age 12, he became one of the youngest divers ever to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials. Despite his success in diving, life out of the pool was difficult.
Having a gay father and also my dad being a different color, I've been asked tons of questions and picked on a little bit. At the time, I didn't have an answer for it, you know, and it was really tough just trying to understand why I don't look the same as my dad. For a long time, my dad's told me bedtime stories. He always told me a story about the prince in Cambodia, and you know, he based it off me just so that I can have a little enjoyment of it. But one night he was telling the story and I didn't want the same story, so I told him to tell me a different one. And he's like, okay, well, how about this? We go back and forth and we make a story based off of us, and we'll just build off of that.
We started off with once upon a time on a farm, there was a rooster named Rodney. And from that line went this entire story of this rooster finding an orphaned egg that turned out to be a brown duckling. And I think because of the experiences that happened to Jordan when he was a youngster, we became the rooster and the duckling. And I got up out of his room and I'm like, holy cow, I think we just wrote a children's book.
That same night, Jerry typed out their story. He sought an illustrator with one request: to turn Jerry and Jordan's likeness into the animals they portrayed. As co-writers, they published An Orphan No More, the true story of a boy.
It doesn't matter the makeup of a family. Family is family. All over the world now today, what makes a nuclear family are the bonds that hold people together. It's not necessarily the biologic part of it. And the bond that Jordan and I have, nobody could tell me that bond is any less than what it would have been if he were biologically my son.
In the years since the book's release, Jordan has been featured in a national It Gets Better campaign, and he continues to be an anti-bullying advocate. In 2017, Jordan won the men's platform at the USA Diving National Championships before finishing 26th at Worlds. As he pursues the Olympics in Tokyo in 2020, he reflects on his journey as well as the most important figure in his life.
Being adopted and it just being pretty much my dad and me, I've kept that family close to my heart my entire life. Many things could have happened to me, so he really did change my life for the better.
It's not so much that Jordan has changed my life, but he has become my life. I mean, he's an extension of who I am. And, I don't know what my life would be if he wasn't in it, because he's every part of me that anybody could be part of another human being. We are connected so deeply that he's the air that I breathe. He's every beat of my heart. And I hope I make him as proud as he makes me.